Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kseniya. I make videos for people who are going through the family immigration process. I'm not an attorney. My videos are based on public information, my own experience, and the experience of my subscribers. And the purpose of my channel is to give you guys the confidence to go through this process completely on your own. Occasionally, I get an email asking for help from someone who wants to obtain a green card just in case, but doesn't actually have plans to permanently relocate to the US. I often see the situation with petitioners who would like to obtain a green card for their parents, just so that their parents can come and go to the United States and back to their home country freely without having to apply for a tourist visa. I similarly see a situation like this with US citizen petitioners who live overseas, who have a family overseas. Maybe their children are already US citizens, but their spouse is not yet a citizen. And so in that case, they would like their spouse to obtain a green card through the family process, just so that their spouse can freely travel to the US and back to their home country. But when you obtain a green card just in case, without having actual permanent plans to make the US your home, there could be some issues. And this is what we're going to talk about in today's video. Of course, applying for a visitor visa can be quite a lengthy and painful process. Some people end up waiting years to even get a US tourist visa interview at their local embassy. But you need to remember that the US immigration system always has an assumption with every single visa applicant, whether they're applying for a tourist visa or any other kind of visa. They always assume that you have plans to trick them to come to the United States and remain here forever. This is why it is extremely difficult to obtain a visa to the United States. But you need to remember that this is not a reason for you to apply for a green card to have just in case and use it as a tourist visa. When you are becoming a permanent resident, which is what it means to have a green card, you are promising to the United States government that you are planning to make the US your new permanent home. Of course, as a permanent resident, you have many more freedoms, but you also have responsibilities that you must follow. And those rights and responsibilities are outlined in the permanent residency booklet that you would normally receive when you get approved for a green card. There is a longer version of this booklet available online, which describes in even more detail some of the steps that you can take as a permanent resident and some of the rules that you must follow. And I will link that booklet under this video. One way you can lose a permanent resident status is by abandoning it. You abandon your permanent resident status by leaving the United States to live abroad permanently with the intent of giving up your permanent resident status. Your conduct will demonstrate your actual intent. So basically what this statement means is that you may tell immigration that you do not have an intent to abandon your permanent resident status, but it is not your words that count. It is your actions. So for example, taking a lengthy trips outside the US for long periods of time, such as 6 months or more every year, not having a job in the US, not paying taxes, not having an active and valid driver's license, not having an active bank account, all of these conducts or behaviors can indicate that you did not make the US your permanent home. And especially after lengthy trips of several months or longer, the US immigration may call you in for what is known as secondary inspection. You will be called into a different, smaller room with other CBP agents who have access to your information in more detail. They may ask you a series of questions about your trip. What was your intention for your initial travel outside of the US? But what a lot of people don't actually realize is that the CBP agents also have the right to check your personal belongings, your phone, your emails. They can look through your correspondence, and if they find something in your belongings or in your messages, your emails, or your documents, that indicates that you actually permanently reside overseas and you just come to the US to visit, that can cause some serious issues that can lead to them revoking your green card or putting you in removal proceedings. Another way to abandon your permanent resident status is going overseas and staying there for a year or longer without applying for something known as a re-entry permit. Of course, different situations happen, especially people who newly obtained their permanent resident status. Sometimes they have still unfinished business overseas, and that is perfectly normal, or sometimes there is family emergencies. And in that case, permanent residents do have an option to apply for a re-entry permit, which will allow them to remain outside the US for up to 2 years without losing their permanent resident status. Abandoning your permanent resident status is a very tricky situation because there are extraordinary circumstances such as family emergencies, deaths, severe financial loss, medical emergencies, where sometimes you may be able to recover your permanent resident status if you happen to lose it not so long ago. But if you have remained outside the US for a very, very long time and you don't really have a valid reason, in that case, recovering your permanent resident status probably would be impossible. You may have to start the entire process completely from scratch. The other thing about permanent residency is that you have an opportunity to eventually apply for naturalization. But in order to become a US citizen, you must first prove to USCIS that you have maintained what is known as continuous presence in the United States. Continuous presence means that you have been in the US for the majority of the year for 3 or 5 years directly before applying for naturalization, depending if you're applying based on a 3-year or a 5-year rule. And if at any time your continuous presence was interrupted, in that case, you will have to restart the timer from your last arrival to the US. This is why it is so tricky, but the great thing about becoming a US citizen is that in that case, you then may be able to take longer trips outside the US without actually abandoning your status. As a permanent resident, like I said earlier, you are still under the microscope of immigration. So the reason I'm making this video is so that you make an informed decision before applying for a green card, because you don't want to spend a lot of money in application fees and very lengthy waiting times just to then abandon your permanent residency. So I hope that you found this video useful. Let me know if you have any additional questions. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I highly encourage you to explore all of my playlists. Give this video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye!